Proxy Table Gaming, PTG, Lucky Sixes, and Hyper G.
What up, dog?
Hey, how you doing? Cut my
I'm
hair.
doing. Yes, right? What's changed?
Yeah, yeah. Don't look at the beard too closely.
No.
No. Yeah, it's mid tournament for
We
you.
are. We're at that
Looking all right.
fateful. Yeah, we're at that fateful round three of day one, which is always
The
a very,
tiredness sets in.
very difficult. And I must admit,
Yeah.
actually, this time around, I genuinely I struggled headache wise to get through it.
Oh no.
But
Oh, you didn't have
thankfully,
my pharmacy nearby to
no,
just
I
provide
didn't.
you the drugs.
There was nothing to
Oh,
dispense. But
um,
thankfully, there was one thing that really did get me through it, and it wasn't the hot fix
3.0.
of thing. It was the fact I was playing Elliot. Elliot Fremont, who has
I still need the pleasure. I still need that pleasure of
smashed
playing Elliot.
the UK scene in the last few years,
Oh, he really
especially
has.
this year. And
And he's French.
and he's French.
I mean, we usually
Yes,
don't make allowances for that
I
nationality, but
know.
Elliot is really
I'm
testing
yeah.
us.
I'm so intrigued that I like French guy, and it's yeah, it's wonderful. And basically, here's
And
the
upsetting at the same time.
creator of my of my list, and also a very good uh, dude to have on the
Yeah,
scene and to
he's
chat about
beautiful.
and stuff. So I was, other circumstances I might even drop, but not for
Mm.
this because we've got
Oh,
the a really really fun game ahead. This is my
great.
so this for the keen observers out there, and again I'll drop the webcam so that we can see the whole list. This is my list. You
Yeah,
kind of know it by now. It's a
this is
killy
a spot the
vampire,
difference game coming
a
up.
master necromancer, a
Yeah, I got the
barracking,
points. Yeah, yeah.
BSB, skeletons, bat swarms,
Mm.
dogs, Barragard, Court of the Damned, Shrieking Horror. That's my list.
Yeah, huh? Okay, mental snapshot. Got
Okay,
it.
this is his list.
Oh, well, okay. Vampire, Necromancer, Barrow
So
King, BSB, two skeletons, Bat Swarms, Direwolves, Beauregard, Court of the Damned. Yeah. Two Varkalax.
Varkalak. So yeah,
What's going on here?
we'll talk through the differences because that's essentially the thing. Two Varkalaks instead of Varkalak and Shrieking Horror.
Yeah,
He's got five more Barrow Guard than I do.
yeah. Mm.
He's got one more Bat Swarm and four more dogs, which is an interesting
Yeah.
little unit, funky little unit.
Mm.
Skeletons are the same. BSB's largely the same, and the Necromancer is an Arcane Volcanist Adept. Now, the Arcane
Oh,
Volcanist is a season
season
pack
pack
thing.
thing.
So, like
Mm.
during the um,
Magic card
magic card thing,
draw.
reveal or whatever,
Flex
um,
card. Yeah.
yeah, they also add additional abilities
Mm.
like -1 to shoot for that round and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, or -1 courage or something. Some of them, in fact, I don't think in this battle any of them mattered, but I can see them sometimes mattering. So it's a bit
Yeah.
of a
I think from what I've looked at them, they're good for some armies and bad for others.
yeah,
Like if like and it's a bit of a rock paper scissors to as whether you play against someone that it will be bad for. So yeah, bit
yeah.
spicy.
So yeah, really, his list very much doubles down on the combat element of it, especially with the Varkalax and things. Mine, I guess, has more range in the Shrieking Horror and a few more spells that can
Yeah,
double up to do some range. You can see with his spell selection, he hasn't chosen any of the range ones, so that's
no,
this very 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 subtle differences. But it's a VC off, and it's a very VC off of other of all sorts of things. It will either be 10-10 or 0-20. There's
hmm
no there's never
hmm
any change between it.
yeah,
Apparently, we played Spoils of War and a mutual encroachment, so we had to kill um, the scoring units, which so
Hmm,
it led
nice.
itself again to the either someone will win big or they'll or it
Mm,
just be a non-event.
yeah.
Mutual encroachment is we can deploy units in fields if we want to.
Oh, okay. Right.
that are not fully within our deployment zone, I think,
Right. So that's
but are on our
quite,
side of the
yeah.
board.
Hmm.
I think it was
It's
something like
a
that.
bit rare that that would come into
Yeah,
play then, really.
yeah, it's not. Yeah, I'm not, yeah. I think it would just be in our half of the board. So
Sure.
it's you can
Okay.
basically get a bit closer with some units, but you have to be fully in the terrain
Mm.
pieces. Mine was Master of the Veil. His was demonstrate superiority. Um, Arguably, again, if it's a stalemate, I do better off, and if it's a more bloody battle, he gets the favour with that sort of thing. So there's
Yeah.
that. But yeah, otherwise it sort of led itself to either be one or the other, like we said in Battle One, really. This is my list for people that want to have a look.
I like that you skipped through that screen very quickly before I started whinging about the seasons back again.
Yes.
Very
And
good.
this is deployment where we will return, and so will the funky graphics. Here we go. So, this is deployment after Vanguard. As you can see, I did choose to use the field to
Very good.
deploy some
Just
dogs.
because you could.
Just because I could, and it helped with the bubble actually, rather
Okay.
than
Yeah.
spreading out a bit. So that was nice. I've got Varkalak, bats, dogs in front of this spear skellies, Barragard, skellies, and shrieking horror on that right side. I dropped second because Elliot dropped. So I spent a bit of time wondering what my good matchups were, and
Mm.
I didn't necessarily think the Varkalak versus the Dogs was a good matchup because if they charge, there's a lot of attacks at
A
strength
lot of
4,
attacks, can you?
but they're not
Mm.
very high quality attacks in that like they'll be hitting on 4s and then winning on 5s. But
And
it
fortitude
has spike
on
potential
top of
for
that.
both, I think.
Yeah.
So I could go in and I can absolutely wreck him and roll all
Mm.
my Aegis saves because he's only rolled 2 wounds. So I
Yeah.
think, or he could roll 8 wounds, like just to
Yeah.
spike. So it was an interesting thought. I think I probably got the better hand there. So I was happy
Yeah.
enough with
I
that.
agree.
On the right hand side, he's got 2 Varkalaks, and I
Shrieking
thought
Horror is a bit dicey with that, isn't it?
yes,
Because again, he's got fortitude saves and he's got 2 of them. So,
yeah. So, but realistically, like the Barragard are great against them because they've got lethal strike, but he's not going into the front of the Barragard, so
mm.
because they're so maneuverable. So my thought was have the magic and the shrieking horror over there to double up on one of the Varkalaks to see if I can get anything, and maybe that'll just make him like move him or something, or make him do something silly. Like
Mm.
if I
Mm.
can do that, so we shall see. We shall see. But it is a ruins there, so I tried not to be within the ruins if I could.
Yeah. Fair
He's
enough.
got dogs, spear skellies, sword ward skellies, Barragard, bigger unit of bat swarms, and the 2 Varkalaks, as we've mentioned. He goes first and just pushes with apart from the
Ooh.
flanks, which gave me
Yeah.
the thought at least that maybe I've done that right.
Okay.
Obviously, this is my effectively 4th game, but 3rd game in this edition. Um,
Mm.
with this list, so I'm still sort of learning what sort of things, and I haven't got the experience by anywhere near the experience Elliot has with this list.
Mm.
So I'm trying to. So that gave me a lot of positives actually. That he did stay back with those things, and the dogs can be a decent threat if you can add magic to them and stuff, and get them in the flank and stuff.
Yeah.
Because of the new stat profile changes, which I'm very interested in. But yeah, but in the middle, he just didn't care. So I was like, okay,
Mm.
right. So the flanks have done well, but maybe the big bit in the middle, I'm not sure. But yeah, very interested to see that for VC turn 1 movement. That's going to get very confusing, by the way.
Yeah.
He raises some zombies. I think I don't know what I stop. I can't remember what I stopped, but at this point, I don't have any dice, so he raises some dead to chaff me. I didn't think it was that great because I have a 9 overrun into his bats with my Barragard, so I was like,
Yeah.
I was very interested in this and why he wanted to do this. But yeah, there's only 8 come up from 2d6 zombies as well, so not a lot there.
No. Yeah.
On my turn, I decide to charge the zombies with the barricade
Okay.
and leave myself the
Okay.
option of overrunning or not. Especially as my dogs have chaff, so I now sort of have the option to overrun and not really be flanked by anything. Was my thought
Mm.
there. I what was I going to say? No, I've completely forgotten. I move up the Shrieking Horror ever so slightly to give myself some ground on the thing. So this, exactly the same thing will happen. We're just 8 inches up on that right side. And the Varkalak comes a little bit closer, leaving a long charge with the dogs to see what he wants to do. But it is like the longest charge. So if he
Yeah.
fails, it's almost like, well, if he fails, doesn't roll a 6 on those 2 dice, I'll be able to charge him easily. And then the dogs are definitely dead. So is it a risk he's willing to take, sort of thing? Also, I'll get him into the fight if I need him for any sort of reason, or get him closer to and stuff. Arguably, as well, with the secondary objective, this is what I'm going to say. I'm not necessarily backing off.
No.
Because, as well, it's probably not necessarily the right thing to do, but it's definitely more fun to have combats. You know?
I mean,
So,
yeah.
I'm just... All I'm
Unless
trying
you
to
just
do...
know that you're going to lose them, then
Well,
it's no fun
yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
And
Well, I
you could have
don't.
charged
This
the
is the
dogs
thing. I
into
don't know that
his
I'm going to lose
barricade.
them. And if I can like isolate him, then maybe I've still got the bats as an extra thing. Maybe I'll get into the swarms. I'm not sure. We'll have to see.
Very well.
I get Soul Blight and Touch of the Reaper off on the bat swarms. I know that it's largely ineffectual if I don't do anything against them again, but at least it means his necromancer aura is not next to the swarms, so he's
Sure.
going to have to use one to target them, not something else. Maybe one of his skeletons, for example, to arise, and I get an arise off on the sword and board just in case something comes up in the future where I need bodies.
Why not grab them?
I kill the zombies, and I have a decision to
Ooh.
make. Do I
you do.
stay or do I go now? And
I think you stay.
I actually spend a bit of time thinking about this, and because I need a 9 to get in, so it's not like average.
Oh, where has Lucky
gonna get
Sixes gone? Who are you?
Well,
On a
but I'm
9,
like,
for
do I even
2d6
want to...
for you,
Yeah,
the average is like 11.7 for you.
I know. Yeah,
Or it used to be a few years ago.
and I sort of think whether or not I actually want that combat, because it'll be on his turn, and then I'll need to get rid of them all, which obviously bat swarms are quite notoriously difficult to get rid of. I will still be hitting them on 4s, even with the distracting, because I'm a higher. I'll beat Webster 5. But yeah, it's an interesting one. So I am an art, but I said, you know what? I'm Lucky Sixes.
Oh, you didn't.
I don't stop things.
See, I don't necessarily agree that it's the right thing to do here, but I'm just saying.
And I think, well, I've chaffed them. If I don't go now, then I've wasted my chaff. Let's do this. And I get in. And I get the 9. So there's, that's happened. And now we both look at each other and go, now it's on.
Yeah.
There's no way this battle happens and we just 10-10. No, it's gonna go big either way. So can we? Yeah. Have I overstretched, or have I actually forced things to go? He charges in here, and this is how the battlefield looks on VC turn 2. His VC. He moves up his Varkalax over there to sort of come towards the fight. And his dogs stay exactly where they are, so we know what's going to happen. There is skeletons as well come into the fight, leaving me a flank. We know that it's not necessarily the best thing for the Varkalak because of combat res. And this is how it is.
Which one's his Barragard? Just remind me quickly.
Barragard are the ones closest to my Barragard.
Sure. So in the middle of the table, pretty much.
It's
in between the dogs and the Barragard,
Yeah, at this point, he wants to turn his Barragard so that he can. It's definitely going to be a front no matter what. And so the center is in his front arc basically. But he has to go 7 wide, so he has to go slightly deeper in order to create that.
He's got some beautiful models, Elliot, hasn't he? It's worth saying.
So much so, he won the best painted. So
Well
this
deserved.
camera does not do them justice at all. He did really well. It's a really lovely looking army. He spent a lot of time on it, and it's very uh good colours and things
Detailed.
like that.
Oh
So really,
yeah,
really
the
nice.
colours are amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen some good
Uh,
vampire colours, yourself included.
yeah, but there are some close-ups. Don't worry. Later on. Not intentionally, but
All
in the
right.
battle.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't worry. Oh, here you go. Here's some close-ups of his.
Hey, beautiful.
That's his BSB that David did actually. He
Oh, cool.
gets. This is a rules thing I learnt in this battle. So he gets on a rise off to get all the wounds back, which is fine because he's got three. He's got two of them, and he rolls really hot on the first one. So I go, okay, fair play. You got that. He gets Chorus of the Damned off, which is distracting, but obviously they already have distracting. So I'm like, okay,
Stacks now.
yeah, it stacks now, and I didn't think of that as a spell. So there's something I got rid of the Aegis, the 5-up Aegis, because I thought, well, I don't want them spiking that and sticking around because of
Yeah,
all the combat
yeah.
res and everything. So yeah, then I learned the distracted stuff. So now I'm hitting on fives, even with my Lord. I think.
At least he's re-rolling ones to hit. But
No, I'm hitting
really?
on fours with my Lord.
Yeah, fours. Yeah.
But I'm like, that's a bit of a
He
that's a
was always going to get
tough
something off,
one.
and you were kind of aware that it was
Yes,
his turn, so there was a chance of that.
yeah. So whether or
So,
not knowing that, I thought the 5-up Aegis was the one to stop. So that's what I
mhm.
focus on. Perhaps the five, because then this just means less hits and combat resistance. But I still got. I mean, he's got what 30 wounds, so it's quite a lot
Yeah.
in the thing. So
hmm
yeah, not sure. On now knowing that it's distracting, not sure what is the better one. That or Aegis, but put it in the comments, folks.
Yeah. Hard to
He
say.
obviously kills the dogs, and it will turn around to face. And going into here, I do all told after crumble,
hmm
which is unfortunate because it means I don't get to charge, and we don't have to have solo fights and things.
Yeah.
But also, all told, I do. So he's got 7 left, so 23 wounds, which isn't bad. But
hmm
I thought I'd go through them actually, but the distracting really I hardly hit. It was
Yeah.
with my barrier guard anyway. But yeah, so we're still there, and I'll have to finish him off in his turn.
In hindsight,
Which
would you have been better off going with instead of the damage spells on the bat swarms, just debuffing them or buffing up your barricade maybe in
uh,
hindsight? But easy
yes,
to say now. So
potentially. Also,
mm,
what happens here is this is actually after movement. I realise that in doing this and really trying to force the play, I'm about an inch out from being able to march with my bats.
oh, and they could have been
Which
really handy right now.
is yeah, that would have been really really handy.
hmm
So now I've got to try and think of a way of. So now I've just got to move up and just
Yeah.
set up counter charges and buff to hell
Mm,
this Beauregard
yeah.
unit.
Because Vaki
So
couldn't get far enough either by the looks of it.
Vakulak, well, it could stop the skeletons, but the skeletons aren't in
They're
range,
not the problem.
so
Yeah,
it
they're
couldn't
not the
get
problem.
the court basically.
No, of course. Yeah.
So yeah, so an interesting one, and I'm like,
Mm.
it's fine margins, but
I'm gritting
I
my
don't.
teeth for you here.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't like that so much. But Barrack, but it's the same units, So we'll see how it goes. I obviously kill the 7 runes remaining in this. I
Yeah.
get -1 strength and
Oh,
AP off, and blood hand of glory off. So I've got the 5-up
that's good.
Aegis.
That's good.
So yeah, I'm feeling better about it, and I sort of just turned
The
to
only issue, I
face.
guess, is he's got a turn when he charges, so
Yeah.
he can counter your debuffs with his own buffs.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, absolutely. But I mean, that's the best from my point of view. I'm going, okay, well, that's the best possible thing I think I could have done.
this looks a bit ropey. Are those
Yeah,
Varkalax not in your rear and very in range?
yeah, they are.
Uh,
So what I did, I obviously need to make sure all the skeletons are in front, and there's no way of me being able to
sure.
block myself. And
Yeah.
I did, and it's another thing that when I went forward first. Obviously, the Varkalax were way further back. I didn't think
Yeah.
of. I wasn't in range of shrieking, like getting the shrieking horror up to march and do all that stuff. So
Yeah.
things started to come to the fore.
Did
I
you have that
think, but
sinking feeling?
no, but I've still got lethal strike on them, so there
You
is a
do.
spike potential to actually do some wounds to them from the
Yeah.
rear. And I've got dying blow, so I'm always going to be thing.
Okay.
So I've got the 5 pages, so I could spike that. So I'm thinking, as much as I've probably overextended, I have put them in the best position I could. I
Hmm.
couldn't. There wasn't a way as well. I did try to, in my head, I tried to get out of the line of sight of the court. But
Yeah.
it's just angled them enough that I just can't.
He knows what he's doing, that boy. Yeah.
It was, and it was very. It was quite cool to see how he'd set up and stuff like that. But I mean, it's. If I have the skeletons, but he stopped. The reason I get all these spells off, by the way, is because he stops Dead or Rights. And anybody playing VC will know that is a real good thing
stop
to
a
be
rise.
able to stop, because it, as much as I've then got buffs, he doesn't get chaffed. So the right thing from his point of view to do. I looked at it, and as well, if I give a flank to the Varkalax, I give a flank to the Barrowguard, which just can't happen.
Big no.
So there wasn't really a way to do that. And as well, this way I get some really good setup counter charges and things. He charges with the world,
Of course.
into them, and oh boy, I'm hoping this 5 page just spikes.
Yeah. They all get in. All of them.
They all get in. I think the only one actually in question, if I go back ever so slightly, the only one actually in question is the court.
I suppose they're only infantry.
I think it needed a 3. The long Varkalak, I think, still needed a 2. The other one was auto. I didn't realise actually how close they were.
Yeah, they look close in the other picture.
It's because of I guess the new. I'll say new charge, the 3.0 charge. You add the +4 to start off with anyway, so you're actually really close once you're close. It's the margin of actually failing a charge once you're in some sort of range is actually not that high. So it's definitely a lapse of judgment to allow them all in, but I got the Aegis.
Yeah, you do. I mean,
he gets
that.
Blood Curse off as his only spell as well, so we're the same strength and AP, but that's the only thing he gets off.
That's good.
In his phase, which I'm like, you know what, that's what I could hope for. He didn't need any arises in here, so I couldn't have hoped for 2 more for him to have like a bit of a rubbish phase going into my phase where I've got 1 extra spell. So
These are halberds as well, aren't they?
Sorry?
Here's a halberds as well on the Beauregard.
Yeah, we're exactly the same in terms of that. But yeah. In combat, this is after combat, and thankfully for me at least, the only positive is this is after crumble.
Right, so you're still there for 1 more turn.
Yes. However, it might be because he targeted absolutely everything he could on my BSB, with his Lord being, we'll say conveniently, but it's actually quite skilledly placed to be next to my BSB. And when I moved around, I didn't think about my character positioning. So he just wiped the floor with my BSB. He put all his 6 attacks on my BSB, killed my BSB easily because he's hitting on.
And that took away parry, right?
Took away parry, which is a huge thing for that combat. And the 5 pages just couldn't cope with that. Even I don't think I rolled below average, but I didn't roll above, which is really the key here. So and because the Varkalax obviously move up, the most I can get back is 7 more Barrowguard as well in my turn. But it is my turn next. I've got a whole load of flank charges coming in, and maybe some more as well. So yeah, let's see what we can do. Right now it's a scrap.
Yeah.
Because everything charges.
Of course.
I've got the spat swarms in the rear. To lower his weapon skill is my thought. That might offset the parry. I
Yeah.
couldn't quite see the skeletons as well. Otherwise, I would
Okay.
have gone into them. But yeah, skeletons go into both skeletons go into the flank, unfortunately, again. And the Shrieking Horror goes into the flank of the Varklak to see if that ever would have been any good
So
anyway.
yeah, in the first round of combat, could you have targeted the sword and board skeletons a bit more to try and get your skeletons in the
Uh,
rear instead, or was that not really
I
a possibility?
did with my Lord and just to get some combat
Oh,
res
okay.
as much as
Mm.
possible into the sword and board
So
guys.
you couldn't have killed more then.
Parry
Yeah.
actually on them really stung me in that. I was surprised at how much it affected it, but also as well, me taking off a rank meant the bats couldn't see that thing as well. So it was a bit of a
Yeah. Oh,
maybe I
sure.
shouldn't
Yeah.
as well. But yeah,
Yeah.
everything goes in, everything gets in, and the Varkalak has to go into the side here to make sure
Mm-hmm.
that he doesn't have any counter charges of his own.
Yeah.
So at this point, I mean, there's some DTs as well. At this point, I'm thinking, well, it's not the best with my main unit like that. However, I have got the counter charges, and I've got a magic phase now as well to actually do some damage. So I'm in with a big chance here, actually, if I get some spikes and stuff like that. I get 3 spells off.
Oh, that's good.
No, 2 spells. That blood curse is one on me. But I get an arise to get all my Barragard as much as I can back, and I get the Aegis off on them again. So again, looking for some spike on that. But I've got all the things, and if I can kill this Varkalak maybe, or do a lot of wounds to him, just go to town on the sword and board guys. Then we're off to a good one. I think he stopped spectral blades off on my
Okay.
spear
Skeletons.
skeletons, which meant that his unit survived rather than not doing it. But this is everything. My 5-up pages just evaporated. It was
Yeah.
it was so bad. It wasn't even a thing. I was like, oh, okay. Well, even with the -2 offensive skill that he's got, even with the 5-up pages, my unit just got destroyed, and that was enough to offset the combat res that I had. Unfortunately for me, his Varkalak just made a load of saves as well. So I did a few wounds, but not enough really. And while I'm, apart from my Barragard, looking very healthy elsewhere, it's now his turn to get
Yeah,
magic and everything off,
an
and
issue.
that Barragard unit is not looking dented really in the slightest. And I'm like, I don't know how else my list deals with that, with my Lord being there on his Todd. To add to a bit of
Oh, those guys are
salt
back.
in the wound, he has a nice juicy rear charge into my bat swarms here. Of course, when they charge in, they'll be wounded on 2s, so it's just whether they can hit. But yeah, this was a bit of a maybe the bat swarm going in wasn't actually
I
that
don't
good.
think you can blame yourself for that. That
Yeah.
was you clutching at a point where it was probably already looking
Uh,
on the cards. So,
to really rub salt into the wound,
oh, boys,
the
boys,
first
boys,
time he didn't do
boys.
a single wound to me. Turns
Yeah.
round and he just obliterates me, and I don't get a single save.
Uh,
And I'm like, oh,
uh, uh.
oh, okay.
Well, at least it sped
Uh,
up the battle.
yes, yeah. This happens,
What a
and
combat! What a
uh,
combat!
yeah, this you can see the damage done to
Literally
the bat
everything is
swarms.
involved, isn't it? That is
Yeah.
one combat.
The other reason the bat swarm, because it's the only real way he got any wounds off. But because he got
Right.
that, he got all the extra
Everything
combat
crumbled.
res to offset things. I didn't do any wounds to his skeletons, and I was like, what? Just the parry, I hit really, really badly, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh no. When I didn't kill his unit off, obviously I'm not looking at the court or the necromancer in there,
No.
but I was like, oh, okay.
Mm.
And I actually kind of forgot that my court was in combat thing with his necromancer as well. Otherwise, I would have gone for that.
I was going to say, why is he not popping off the necro points?
Yeah, I was trying
Yeah.
to get the sword and board guy. I just couldn't. I just
Was he
I just
attacking with his necromancer on your necromancer, or were you both just looking at
I
each other?
think he might have. I don't know. I have no idea. But it just and
Hi.
my shrieking horror did 0 wounds to his Valka. It was just the turn where
Oh,
just nothing happened for me,
yeah.
and obviously
Apart
he's
from
got
the
the
dogs.
charge with
Mm,
those dogs, and the dogs proved very pivotal in killing my general, who's on his own, and
mm,
did as much as he could, but he blows
yeah,
up, and this is how it is remaining
yeah.
after. This is actually after a
The
few
Barragard
few
just sit
turns
back
as
and
well.
watch as the rest
Yeah,
crumbles to dust.
yeah, and yeah. This is what happens. We get this is actually the last thing. The reason we carry on is to see if I can avoid a 20 at this point.
Hmm.
To see if I can get some points. I do indeed get the Varkalak and the
Okay, well done.
Necromancer.
Oh, well done.
So for some points, but he does finish off literally everything in my
Yeah.
list, and that sirs and madams is that,
Hmm.
and
Antonyms.
as the French say, je ne sais quoi.
Very good. I mean, yeah, they do say that.
Bonjour,
Yeah, very good. I like it. It was a very fun
arrivederci.
battle. All
Um,
right.
yes,
Yeah.
it was a really super fun battle. It was really interesting to see that. I think it goes back to, and I'm going to try and do this. You might see all the different ones. It comes back to this really, as a thing, and I've definitely. There's two things really in this. I think I tried to overextend too early, not really thinking about the consequences of the Varkalax, and B, the
Mm.
lack of range of my bats.
Hmm.
I didn't really think. I didn't think about if I move forward, I'm moving out of range, which is such a silly thing to not think about. But yeah, then after that, it became a bit of a masterclass from Elliot on just knowing the list, like getting the
Yeah.
BSB very early, target stopping Dead Arise, all these little really tiny decisions that he just got right, and yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately for me, the better man won and showed me how to use my own list way better. But
Could
yeah,
you, in this situation, could you not have pivoted the Beauregard a little bit further away from the Varkalax to give them a chance of failing those charges?
it was on an auto and a 2 at this point.
Mm. It would
They've
only
got
have gained
Swift
you one or
Stride.
two
It
inches,
might have
wouldn't it? Yeah.
been means on a Swift
Mm.
Stride he needed a 2 and a 3.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And it I can't remember, but it might compromise. I see what you mean by like moving them this way.
Yeah, yeah. The
Yeah,
bottom left half towards the middle.
yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, the only other thing that might have helped was a counter charge from my unit onto the Vakulak and just have the Skellies on his. So that might have
Yeah.
helped for that side of things, but I wouldn't have been able to get the Shrieking Horror in maybe as well. So there was just it
Yeah,
was just a
it
bad,
was probably done at that point
and
because
as well,
yeah.
obviously he got the objective and all that stuff. But
Mm.
I think weirdly, and I guess um, ironically, the best thing for me to do here was to make a non-game for him, like
Mm.
Matsul did for me in the first round, just because he
Yeah,
just edges me out in the
on the
combat, and
numbers.
my
Yeah.
range doesn't really do enough to his things to
Mm.
stop him doing that.
Yeah.
So while I tried to go for it and tried to have a match, I mean, I had loads of fun doing it. It was
Yeah, yeah.
probably the wrong decision.
Because I mean,
But
if you hadn't have overrun with your Beauregard as well, that would have been a different story entirely. Because you
yes,
could have then
yeah,
got your bats on to chaff,
the
maybe
Varkalax aren't a thing. He's
reassessed. Yeah,
only
they
in the
have to stay
front.
back. Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely things that he would have been 8 wide as well. So coming
Mm.
in would have been a bit difficult. Yeah, there's loads of other things and it would have changed the battle completely, but it perhaps wouldn't have been as
Mm. Decisive in the
action
end.
based.
Yeah.
But
Mm.
that would have been good for me in hindsight. But yeah, he knew the list, but only ever slightly. But he knew it enough to seemingly dismantle me. It was
Yeah.
very actually quite cool to see on an objective point of view. But I never like
I'd
it.
be,
I said this to it. Yeah, but I never like getting 20. I haven't been 20 in a little
no
while.
one does. No.
And spoiler alert,
Yeah.
it was a 20. I still get
I'd be keen
1,500
to hear from
points.
Elliot. Yeah, I'd be keen to hear from Elliot in regards to all those little things that it looked like he did to ensure the big win. Were they conscious things that he was doing, or did the stars just align? And I don't want to make that sound like I'm lessening Elliot's generalship, absolutely not. But I'd be keen to hear whether he actually was thinking about all of those things to make sure
Yeah.
they happened, or was it just that the sun was shining that day on his list, which would be bad for vampires, ironically. But anyway,
I, I, I,
yeah,
I'd have to say, on reviewing the game, it did seem like he
he was
did.
doing it
He stopped
consciously. Yeah.
during the game. He consciously let me get
Mm,
buffs off so I could stop Dead or Rise.
mm. Yeah, yeah,
He moved
yeah.
up his Varkalax to within range
Mm,
after of my streak, and I know that I couldn't march. So
yeah,
there was some real subtle things. He
yeah.
targeted without hesitation, targeted my BSB.
Mm, mm.
Obviously, I made a mistake. Well, in charging off in the first place, but after that, by not moving my Barrow King to the other side of my
Yeah, sure.
unit, because
Mm.
then I would have
You
kept
had that one
Harry.
chance to do so.
So,
Yeah.
and so that's a mistake in just not thinking about character placement.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
so yeah, so
mm.
there is that. Um,
Yeah.
and I think, and in the end, I think the rear charge of the bats was a mistake as well.
Sure.
So
I don't think that was a big thing in the grand scheme of
yeah,
things. I think you probably were going down that's that point anyway. But you're right. It maybe happened a bit quicker than it might have done.
yeah.
So.
But with his, and I guess the point I'm making is that with his small calculations and
Hmm.
my small mistakes, because I don't think any of them
Yeah.
are massive mistakes. They're just like trying to
Mm.
get the game on and thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But that all in just
Mm.
swung, and I didn't get overly lucky, which is
Indeed.
in the
Yeah.
end what I was banking on. So,
Never a great strategy.
yeah,
Usually.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool.
So yeah,
Right. Well, we are at the end of this video slottage. So thank you, Lucky Sixes. That was a great game. Really enjoyed it. Give us your comments. Let us know what you think. Join us on Patreon. Do all your usual stuff, and we'll see you in round 4, where you are still on 24 points.
yes. But fingers crossed. You can have a better day. See you later.